This is Trend Following Radio, where great thinking comes alive. Nobel Prize winners, legendary traders, best-selling authors, and the pros that know what drive us irrational human beings. I am your host, Michael Covel. Not filtered, raw, honest. That's my passion. Now, you might not have caught the lyrics there, but the lyrics, and that was circa 1976, 1977. I was just a kid. I never heard that song till, frankly, about a month ago. But those lyrics were actually high praise for Russia. This historical narrative of Russian history made into this Euro pop song, Euro disco song in the mid-1970s. Name of the group was Boney M, Boney M. Again, I've never heard of this group. I was looking for some strange music for this podcast. This came up. I thought it was completely strange. But what's so strange to me is I'd never heard it. We've all heard the classic disco songs, right? I mean, everyone knows this stuff. Well, you might listen to it if you hear it at some club, some restaurant, some bar, whatever. No, you just pay attention for a second. But I went down the path. I was like, wow, where did this come from? Well, first off, you had to think to yourself, this should have been popular in America. Why was it not popular in America? Hey, 1970s, Cold War, a song that's kind of praising Russia. I wouldn't be surprised if the powers that be kept that away from American music audiences. But the most interesting part, the unexpected part, and unexpected is where I'm really going to go today. The unexpected. Can you be prepared for uncertainty? But the unexpected part of this particular song, sung by a West German guy named Frank Farian, in English, about a Russian with a black guy lip syncing. How crazy of a story is that? Completely unexpected. Because when most people think about perhaps a song or what, they hear the song that I just played, they assume the person singing, if you go look at the video on YouTube, they assume that person was the singer. But that's not what happened in this case. Completely unexpected. It gets to the idea of trust. What can you trust? You can't trust much. There's a few key things in life that we can trust. One of them, and this is a quick side tangent before I get into the heart of this podcast, you can trust price. You can trust the price action. That price that you get each day is real. Other things you might not be able to trust, like who made this song exactly. And what's really crazy about that particular song, roll forward, I guess, 25 years or so, or maybe it was less than that. This West German, at the time, West German producer was also the brains behind Milli Vanilli, the MTV sensation of the late 80s, early 1990s. The two kind of model guys that were hired and they won Grammys and all this stuff. And it turns out that this white West German producer was the guy singing. So this guy, spanning a career of probably 25, 30 plus years, has fooled the entire world into thinking he was a black singer, a soulful black singer making disco pop, and has sold, I believe it's over 350 million records. Completely unexpected. You got to wake up each day and you say, I don't know what's going to happen. How can I play with the unknown? How can I be comfortable in the unknown? How can I walk forward and embrace absolute 100% uncertainty, chaos, you name it, coming at you. You're blind. You don't know when it's going to hit you. And you have to be ready, not flinch, roll with the punches, go with it. Don't question. Don't argue. Don't think. Just ride it. Can you be that person? I can think of a person who's like that. Larry David, the creator of Curb Your Enthusiasm. I just listened to this great 5-episode podcast, a series on a podcast called Origins. I believe the host last name is Miller. And it's about 4 hours of the oral history of HBO's show Curb Your Enthusiasm. Curb Your Enthusiasm, written and starred in by Larry David, the co-creator of Seinfeld. So as it goes, Larry David and Jerry Seinfeld, they make Seinfeld. They make a bloody fortune in reruns, hundreds of millions of dollars, if not billions. I think the number is it's made something like 3 to 4 billion in syndication. And through a quirk of early stage ownership rights squabbles, Jerry Seinfeld and Larry David own a lot of the Seinfeld rerun. So every time you see a Seinfeld rerun, Larry David and Jerry Seinfeld are making a fortune. Bless them. I love it. I love that success. So as it goes, after Seinfeld, Larry David wanted to do something new. Wanted a new show. He went through a lot of different ideas. He was going to do something where he did a stand-up act of his stand-up comedy, which he had done in the early 1970s and then not did for decades. Then it was going to be a documentary. The cameras were going to follow Larry David around. That was going to be the show. One thing led to another, and they ended up with what the first 8 seasons of Curb Your Enthusiasm became. Now, an interesting side note, after a 5 or 6 year hiatus, Curb Your Enthusiasm comes back October of 2017 for a 9th season. But let me take a step back and talk about the process, Larry David's process for setting in motion this new series at the time after Seinfeld. He didn't want control. He did not want control. He did not want HBO looking over his shoulder like NBC looked over his shoulder during Seinfeld. He wanted the freedom to make what he wanted to make. And look, coming into HBO and saying, I want to do this show. My name's Larry David. I'm the co-creator of Seinfeld. I've made hundreds of millions of dollars. HBO pretty much said, go do what you want to do. And of course, we all know 17 years later, Curb Your Enthusiasm has become a staple, is perhaps in many ways exceeds Seinfeld. I mean, amazing that he's done 2 shows that will go down in history like those 2 shows. Something that's also really, really cool about what Larry David set in motion with Curb Your Enthusiasm, it's not scripted. Uh-oh, there comes that unexpected again. You did not expect Boney M to be a West German music producer, white guy, singing as a soulful black guy. No one expects that. Well, what Larry did with Curb Your Enthusiasm was not expected either. It's improv. Larry writes a general treatment, describes the scene, describes where he wants to go. They put the actors in the room. The actors know where the storyline is supposed to go, but they're not memorizing lines. They're kind of doing exactly what I do on my monologues and often my interviews, which is just, I'm not going to be cavalier about it and say shoot from the hip, but often you are shooting from the hip, but it's a practiced shooting from the hip. And that's what Larry David set in motion with Curb Your Enthusiasm. There's no script. They make that stuff up on the fly. They are so well practiced comedians that they're comfortable going into the unknown and riding it. And if somebody like Leon, the great character from Curb Your Enthusiasm, if Leon goes down a path, he starts talking some crazy ass shit, then Larry will just follow the crazy ass shit. And it might just go for 5 or 10 minutes. And those guys are just playing with it. They are literally following the trend, not knowing what's going to happen. They are not scripting it. They're not trying to predict it. They don't know. They're in the moment. They're rolling with it. That attitude is extremely difficult in the modern world. So much of our modern world is prepackaged. Everything's going to be okay. We'll give you a group hug. You don't have to think. Here is your TV programming that has been perfected down to the syllable to make you feel good and not struggle with anything. For example, you can think to the classic episode in Curb Your Enthusiasm where Larry David thinks his girlfriend's 7 or 8-year-old boy is gay. Now, that's the kind of thing that in the regular TV show, they're not going to go down that path. And Larry does it in a very creative, cool way. And I'm guessing that most people weren't offended. But that's the magic of being on the edge. That's the magic of not being scripted. And you have to think that there's a part of Larry David, while I don't know Larry David, you have to think there's a part of Larry David that enjoys that. He wants to be in the moment without the script because he knows something special can happen from the unknown. From the unknown, the surprise can happen. And that surprise can be life-changing. What's trend following all about? Trend following is all about you don't know what's going to happen. But if you're ready, powder dry, and a market starts to move, no one's talking about it, no one cares, but it starts to move, and your trend following approach gets you in. Well, it's that very beginning you have to get in to actually get to the end, but that very beginning could very well be 6 months from now or a year from now, some crazy, unexpected trend that makes you a bloody fortune, and you never knew it was coming. But you see, that's life. That's life. A guy I had on my podcast recently, he made what, a $25,000 bet on Uber when Uber had a $5 million valuation? Did he think, did he know, could he predict that Uber would have a $70 to $80 billion valuation now? Of course not. But he took a gamble, he took a bet. I don't know exactly his betting strategy. There's always a little luck involved in anything in life, and that's quite okay. You can't hate on luck. We all are lucky in some way. Hell, we're alive. The fact that we're alive means we're lucky. Because think about how many people are dead. I can think of, and this is a complete side tangent, you're going to think I'm getting way too political. I can think to the country Myanmar right now. They're having a refugee crisis there. A lot of very innocent people are really having a terrible time right now. They have nothing. So lucky. Lucky is life. If you're alive, you're doing well. You're lucky. I want to play a clip. And this is a clip from Larry's wife in Curb Your Enthusiasm. Very short, less than a few minutes. But it lays out in my mind this great parallel path to something like trend following trading. They're like completely connected at the hip.
There's no way I could have done Curb Your Enthusiasm without a background in improv because, you know, Larry writes a story outline for the episodes, but the first 3 seasons, he never even showed me the story outlines. So I never knew what the show was about or what was going to happen next. And I mean, still, I don't know what they shoot in other scenes until I watch the show.
Think about that. She's basically saying, I got to get into the trend at the beginning, but I don't know what's going to happen until the trend is over. And she's just applying it to her life, an improv comedy, working with Larry David on Curb Your Enthusiasm. Let me let the clip continue.
Or, you know, in my scenes with Larry, whatever Larry tells me. The thing that they teach you in improv is to be comfortable in the space of not knowing what's going to happen and not controlling where the scene is going to go.
Titmouse!
What?
I just saw a titmouse.
A titmouse?
A mouse. Titmouse, mouse.
Why do you call it a titmouse?
That's what you call it. Titmouse.
Who calls it that?
A lot of people call it that.
Oh my God.
What?
You are obsessed with tits. You're feeling up somebody's tits. You're talking to kids about tits.
Talking to kids?
Yeah.
The kid said I love tits. That's what the kid said to me. What
Why
am I
are you
supposed to do?
talking to little boys about tits?
He whispered it to me. It was part of the game.
So I spent years doing improv and just being comfortable with the unknown.
She spent years being comfortable with the unknown. Comfortable with the unknown. So much of modern life, though, is different. Modern life, modern life is about not even pondering the idea of uncomfortable. Uncomfortable doesn't exist in the modern world. We will fix it for you. Either the corporation will fix it for you, the government will fix it for you, the market will fix it for you. Comfort, comfort, comfort. But the reality is, uncomfortable is the condition. The question becomes, how will you adjust to that uncomfort? Let me get back to Larry's wife.
What you learn as an improviser is if you listen to what your scene partner is saying, you'll have all the answers.
I got to interject again. If you listen to what your scene partner is saying, you will have all the answers. If you listen to what the market is saying, you will have all your answers. If the market is going straight up, you have your answers. Back to Larry's wife.
So as long as you're listening, there's never going to be an issue. For me, I was comfortable in that space. But I do know a lot of actors who have a hard time with it because it kind of goes against what you learn as an actor. In a lot of classes, they teach you that everything's in the script, that all of your answers are in the script, because you know what other characters say about you. You know even the punctuation in your sentences, so it's all there in the script. You have to let go of it. But what you can do as an actor is think about who your character is and your character's attitude and your character's perspective, because that's really important, as you do an improvised show. If you don't have a good idea of who your character is, then it would be very difficult.
I love that. Most people think all the answers are in the script. I must read the script. They never ask who the hell creates the script. The script reminds me of the prediction. I can predict this. I can tell you that. That's the script. The unexpected, the unknown, the uncomfortable. That's life. Scripts? Oh, sure. The script looks good for a long time. Like, for example, since Donald Trump has been elected, the script is backed by the market, backed by the U.S. stock market. Stocks have gone straight up. That's the script. That's the market. Oh, what's the problem there? What happens when those two deviate? And they will deviate. Like they deviated in 1973, 74, like they deviated in 1987, like they deviated in August of 1998, like they deviated in March of 2000, like they deviated in October of 2008. Like Bitcoin has had its recent deviation. And I hope no one out there is thinking, as I say, like Bitcoin has had its recent deviation, that I'm making a prediction about Bitcoin. I'm not. So let's say it goes from basically 0 to 5,000. And by the time this podcast comes out, who knows where it will be? It's changing quite rapidly. But it goes from 0 to 5,000 down to the low 3,000s. It could go back to 0. It could go to 500. It could go to 10,000. I got no idea. But are you comfortable with the notion that you can't predict it? Don't talk to me right now about Bitcoin price targets or price levels, or try and tell me that Bitcoin is an investment. Oh, sure. If you went ahead and you took a certain percentage of mad money or a certain percentage of your net worth and you put it in Bitcoin, you said, you know what? This is one of my angel investments. I'm going to ride it. Hey, man, that's the way life goes. Good job. But if you've got everything caught up in it, and you don't have a strategy, and you're not ready for the unexpected, you're not ready to be uncomfortable, you have to know what's going to happen next. Let's just cut to the chase. I can tell you what's going to happen at the end. You're going to lose it all. That's life. Tulip mania, baby. Extraordinary popular delusions and the madness of crowds. Charles Mackay. Go find the book. What was it, written in the 1800s? Maybe 1700s? You think human behavior changes? That's what's so brilliant about using these topical examples. Well, I guess they're not necessarily topical because Boney M is a musical group that started in the 1970s, and Larry David put Curb Your Enthusiasm together 17 years ago, started 17 years ago. But they're great examples. They bring you into the right way of thinking. Those types of examples are real. But getting people to accept getting people to accept they can't control everything, or that chaos does not exist, that's just going up against everything we are taught in modern life to not think. I want to play one more clip. Someone sent this to me recently. I'm not a fan of the show. I won't pick on you too hard if you are a fan of the show. But I think Game of Thrones, I'm not into sadism. I'm not into the gratuitous violence. I know a lot of people look past that and there's a deeper meaning and all that kind of stuff. Okay, if that's your cup of tea, go for it. Another way of saying the state, financial TV, a United States senator, a prime minister, a member of the deep state, the realm, anyone that you trust just because you think they are powerful, you think they are in control, you think they control you, and you trust them. You trust them with your life, your family's life, your money. You trust them with everything. And that's all bullshit. Because all we have is the chaos. The chaos, the unexpected, you can't control. And as that clip so aptly points out, if you can see life as chaos, if you can see that that is all we have, climbing it, climbing that wall of worry, that's where the opportunity is. There is so much opportunity in the middle of that maelstrom, in the middle of that chaotic, spinning tornado. Because most people can't go there. They won't go there. They've been conditioned for so long to believe that the realm will protect them. The state will tuck them in at night. That Janet Yellen will give them a soft embrace every night to make them feel nice. You know what's sadism? I mean, I just said that I think Game of Thrones is sadistic. But the real sadism is the realm, the state, the government authority, the prime minister, the corporate chieftain that controls you every day, controls your eyeballs every day. Hey, sometimes we use these lines, these film lines from a 1999 film. Wow, I can't believe that it's that long ago. But we use these lines about the red pill and the blue pill from the Matrix. There's a lot of truth there. A hell of a lot of truth there. You just have to make the decision in your life. How will you look at life? Will you allow yourself to accept logical fallacies all day long? Will you refuse to use the scientific method? Will you refuse to take the horse blinders off? Or will you be fascinated when you find out about the behind the scenes of a Boney M musical group? Or will you be fascinated to find out the thought process, the logic, the foundation of one of the most popular sitcoms ever, Curb Your Enthusiasm? Or will you take that insight from that Game of Thrones clip, that all we have is the ladder in the middle of chaos? What you choosing? Because you got to choose something. If you don't choose, it chooses for you. And since I am on the path of unexpected today, I can think back to being a teenager, liking way too many metal bands. And this particular band, with their look, would have really killed it back in the heyday of heavy metal. A Japanese female metal band, affectionately titled Band Maid. Ah, I just love that. And if you've not been to Tokyo, you will not fully appreciate the look and feel of Bandmade until you go. I see a time when those awake will understand how to make money in up, down, and surprise markets. Whether new trader or experienced, college student or financial advisor, protecting against a crash or just trying to make a lot of money, trend following offers everyone an answer in uncertain times. To get started immediately, send me an email, michael@covel.com. I will send you the right trend following steps to take along with my free video. But if you want to buy and hold, trust the government and trust Wall Street, this is absolutely not for you.